Hello and welcome to The Green Room by Deloitte, an award-winning podcast where we explore the topics that matter most in business. I'm Ethan Worth and this is episode number 68, where we ask, what makes a champion?
Actually, what spurs me on is not the idea of winning gold. It's the absolute crippling fear of not.
Those periods of times where I've really learned the most about myself, not winning any gold medals, and I honestly think I've been proud of myself for overcoming those setbacks.
If people tell me I can't do something, I will turn over any stone to find my way of doing it and to prove people wrong.
It's my purpose in life, inspiring others, making people smile. I get rid of all my medals tomorrow, I want to do that.
Hello everyone and welcome back to The Green Room. As official digital transformation partner of Team GB and Paralympics GB, we're excited to have a special episode of the pod today, not joined by one, but two external guests and two champions in the sporting field. And before we get started though, don't forget you can find all episodes of the Green Room podcast wherever you found this episode, with topics varying from climate change to the future of work. But let's get into today's topic. This summer, we're going to be cheering on incredible athletes at the Olympic and Paralympic Games Paris 2024, and there'll be incredible performances, memorable moments, and champions will be celebrated. Which leads us to today's big question: what makes a champion? And to answer that, I'm joined by Lizzie. How are you, Lizzie?
It's not a champion. But I'm
champion on the couch
today.
today.
Today I'll be the champion second podcast interviewer. How's that? I'm good, thank you, Ethan. Great to be here. Really excited about speaking to our guests today. And without further ado, shall I introduce?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Awesome. So we are joined by a 7-time gold medal champion at the Paralympic Games, as well as a world record holder and world champion wheelchair racer, Hannah Cockroft OBE. Hi, Hannah. Woohoo!
Thank you.
And we are also joined by 5-time Commonwealth Games gold medalist and Olympic Games bronze medal winning gymnast, Nile Wilson.
How are we
Hello,
doing?
Niall.
Yeah, right. Thanks for having us.
I don't know if we've ever done whoops before
Yeah, we
when
should bring
introduced
that
it.
in,
Yeah,
I
we should
think.
start definitely doing more
You've been
whooping.
missing a trick the whole way through. We'll bring so much new stuff today.
Oh, absolutely. As Ethan says, we're here today to talk about what makes a champion. And if we start off perhaps with a very broad question, but one that will really help us to set the tone for this conversation, how would you define a champion? Hannah, shall I come to you first?
You could certainly try. It's quite a big question, isn't it, to ask? I think for me, a champion in sporting terms is exactly what you think it is. It's the absolute cream of the crop. It's the best of the best. It's what everyone wants to be. That's what we train to be. That's what we train to do. We want to be a champion. The word champion comes from the Latin word for gladiator. So it kind of means like warrior, fighter, yeah. And that's what it is, we go out there, we fight, and hopefully we win. Simple.
And you have many times.
I mean, absolutely. I think I have a little bit of a different spin on it. I mean, I'm 3-4 years into retiring from sport, so you're right, elite and professional sport, the environment is very binary, it's black or white, you win or lose, and that does create a champion. The intensity that you have to have around your life, your discipline to your training, to your craft, to become the best in the world, it's irreplicable anywhere else, and it does create tough, strong, resilient human beings that go on to do incredible things that we're all blown away by when we see it on the TV at the Olympics. But I sort of, in my own journey, have had to redefine what success means and what a champion is. And I really believe that it's from within, it's how you feel about yourself. I think for me, champion status nowadays is being a good friend, a good son, a good brother, a nice person to be around, someone that brings my best self to my work. And that's more about the process instead of the end result. Obviously having a gold medal around your neck, you're a champion. But it'd be interesting to dive into that conversation today.
Yeah, no, we absolutely will do. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because in the business world, we think about championing others, and that sounds a little bit like what you've just touched on there, Niall, and how you can sort of use that to support others. So we'll definitely get into that. And perhaps, also someone who champions a way of competing or being a champion for mental health within sport. I guess that's another thing we'll probably get into as well.
100%.
And do you think there's been times where you've besides your winning and you're being the best of the best at your sport, do you think there's other times in your life where you've thought of yourself as champions?
I'd like to think so. Yeah. I mean, look. I think
Not to toot your own horn.
a word or feeling I'm thinking of is pride.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that. No matter how big the achievement or small, like if you're proud of what you've done, like to me that is being a champion. Or if your friends and family are proud of you and you've worked hard to overcome something or learn something, and you're proud of yourself, then that is being a champion. And that can be absolutely anything in life. It doesn't necessarily have to be, being a 7-time Olympic champion. With gold medals. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think being a champion in sport is actually really quite different to being a champion in everyday life. It's the little things that you do every day that actually add up. I wasn't born to be a champion. That was never the plan. But I think the little things that you do every day kind of add up to you being, if you're proud of yourself and you're proud of what you've done. Some days I feel like a champion just for answering my emails, to be honest. So that's
just getting through the day.
Winner.
That'll be music to the ears of people that listen to this podcast.
And Hannah, what you sort of said there about you weren't born to be a champion. We actually did a podcast episode not too long ago. I think it was episode 62, where we spoke to a couple of guests about whether leaders are born or made. In terms of the nature versus nurture debate, do you think there are certain characteristics that a champion would have, like starting with yourself, would you say?
I think there are definitely characteristics that champions share, but I think no one's born with certain characteristics. You have to learn it somewhere. Like I said, I wasn't born and my parents were like, yeah, she's going to be a Paralympic wheelchair racer. Definitely not. That was never, ever the plan. But I was always taught to be determined and to be stubborn and to be confident, to believe in myself and to say yes. Take opportunities. I think all those things are things that build a champion. People who are not afraid of being outside of their comfort zone, of pushing themselves, of asking questions. It's not just one characteristic that makes a champion. I can't sit here and go, it's my stubbornness that has won my gold medals.
Yep.
It's not. It's 100 million different things that I've had to learn throughout my life that have got me to where I am. And I think personality-wise, I feel like we're quite similar, so it's probably a bad...
Yeah, it's because from Yorkshire. It's 'cause from Yorkshire.
Would you say the same, Niall, in terms of characteristics?
Yeah, well, I also, thinking about it now, they're not always good characteristics. When you put it in professional sport ways, you have to be self-absorbed, and I reflect now, like looking back at certain times where that didn't necessarily make me an empathetic person. Like I didn't care about what anyone else. I didn't, because you have to be so laser focused, and that in the chase to become an Olympian, that's super exciting, but no one really talks about what the aftermath looks like for individuals. And I'm sure Hannah's experienced the same as me, but coming home from an Olympics is quite a scary experience, just to fit back into normal life, because your whole life's been geared up to this one moment. You win or lose, but then there's like an emptiness afterwards of like, what now? What am I meant to do now?
I just think it's really interesting, that kind of reframing it with there's also some kind of negative qualities, because you don't often hear that, I guess. And I mean, you said it was selfish or self-absorbed or whatever, but presumably in the time you have a lot of a weight of expectation, and you're in a whole bubble, and you have a whole team that are riding on it as well. So it can't be exactly self-absorbed. I guess you've also got expectation really weighing pretty heavily.
Yeah, I think some feel it more than others. I just tried to enjoy my gymnastics. For me, enjoying the journey was more important to me. But you do have that. You've got to perform in front of 50,000 people and millions watching back home at this one event that you've trained your whole life for. But when you jump in cycles, you've had to train another 4 years, and then another. They don't come around often. So that individual has got to be able to handle the pressure and the expectation put on the shoulders to be able to perform in that moment, and that's a characteristic that I do believe is hard, difficult to build, and more so that people are born with, in my opinion. It certainly can grow, but like from a young child, I was always able to compete, like the competitive drive, and that it was always in there, and I always did my best gymnastics under pressure. But I find it difficult to describe why. That's what I've done. That's the way I am, and I've had help from sports psychologists, because I'm always trying to get better all the time. But some athletes, I see it all the time in the training gym, they're way better than me, and they could achieve way more than me. But when it comes to crunch time, and when it comes to the moment, they just don't know how to handle that pressure. So that's a big characteristic for sure.
the build up and the, getting on that start line, especially in those, events like the Paralympics, it's terrifying. Because, we're talking a lot about the pressure and the expectation, but actually that never goes away. Like, it doesn't suddenly just get mounted on you for that big championships. It's there every training session, every day. Especially now with like social media, you're constantly getting reminded. I'm always like getting messages, and it's so nice to have the support. But people are like, "You'll do it, Hannah. 2 more golds this summer," and I'm like, "Yeah, just that easy, no problem.
You've done it before.
I'll just do that
Do it again."
So it's literally there all the time, and I think people sometimes forget. They see it when you're on that major championship start line, but it's there every day, and you
Is it something
feel
that you think about a lot, or have you learned to just stick to your process? And
I think most of the time I'm pretty good at just handling it. I've always said I genuinely believe if you want to win, you have to believe you can win. And I believe that I have been as successful as I have been because the girls that I race against don't believe they can beat me. I can sit in a call room and they will happily say to my face, "I think I can win silver today." And I always say back to them, "Why can't you win gold?"
That's a good spot to be in, isn't it?
But why can't you win gold? And I genuinely believe that they don't win gold because they don't believe they can. So I think Niall's right, it's all in your head.
Yeah.
50% of your preparation is in the gym, it's on the track, it's in your training.
Yeah.
The other 50% is completely how you're winding up to that event and how you're mentally set up to go.
Yeah.
So I go in and I've gone to races before and gone, "I'm not ready." And guess what? I wasn't ready. Whereas I've gone to races where I've gone, "You know what? I know my training hasn't been exactly where I wanted it to be, but I can do this. I know that I've pulled it out the bag before, no problem." And I go in there and just believe that I can do it. But no, sometimes, I do. It does get to me. I see a comment, or even I just think to myself, I have a bad training session and I just go, "I can't do this." And actually what spurs me on is not the idea of winning gold. It's the absolute crippling fear of not. Because I've won 1 silver medal in my career at the European Championships in Berlin in 2018. It's at 100 metres. Look, I can tell you everything about it. It's ingrained.
You're more wound up about that than you are.
But you know what?
World records.
Please, yeah.
That I got more press over winning that silver than I did over any gold I've ever won.
Wow.
And it's horrendous sitting and reading headlines about yourself. Cockroft lost her crown, she's not queen of the track, she's done, she needs to retire. And you sit there, and I was like, I don't know, 25, 26. That's so much to read at a young age. It's horrible. And actually, still, all these years later, still spurs me on that I don't want to read that about myself. And I'm sure a time will come where, you know what, we're discussing the word champion. I think the girls that win silver and bronze in my races are champions. I think they're absolutely incredible girls. I think they're amazing athletes. And one day that'll be me. I don't want it this year, please.
Well,
that'd be great.
I'll be honest, I'm pretty happy with my Olympic bronze medal, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, precisely.
I'm a champion for that, yeah.
Exactly.
I've got an Olympic medal, I'll take it.
I'm pretty proud of my 4th in Sheffield in year 9.
Champion. So, that'll one day be me, and I hope upon hope that when that happens, I'll be incredibly proud of myself. But I think in that moment of winning that silver medal, I learned that actually winning that, it's not about winning the gold medal, it's about sitting on that podium and going, you know what, I trained the hardest I could, I left no stone unturned, I am the best that I can be today, and this is what I could offer.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a
think
question?
when you can say those 4 things.
Well, yeah, so the
That's it.
silver medal, were you happy with your performance or not?
No.
Okay, so
That's what killed me.
But that, yeah.
Because I knew that if I had competed the way I had before, like the day before,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have won that silver medal. It would have been a gold.
Yeah.
I think that's what sticks with you, and I don't want to feel like that again.
Yeah, you don't want to. It's not about the medals. It's about, like for me, I always just tried to do the best gymnastics that I could on that day. You know, that's all you can do. You know, the results take care of themselves.
That's probably a nice segue into exploring the journey, I guess, that you guys have been on, whether it's gold, silver, bronze, world record or not. You've been on an incredible journey, and it'd be really interesting to hear a little bit about kind of the hard work that we don't all see that goes into getting you to where you are. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of your journeys to get to the top? Niall, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. Yeah, wow, it's not often I reflect on this. Gymnastics is a unique sport. There's a lot of mileage. You know, from the age of about 8, 9 years old, I was training 24 hours a week, every night after school, 5 till 9. I left school when I was 14, 15, I've never been back since, and then jumped into full-time training. It was a very big risk. Obviously at the time my mum was flapping, thinking he needs to do school, he needs this, he needs a backup plan, and reality was that would have been probably a good idea, but all I wanted to do was sport. You know, I had good genetics for gymnastics, I was talented at that age, but you never really know. It's interesting this conversation, but your Olympic journey starts when you're like 7 years old, because there's clear talent there, and then all of a sudden you have school friends, teachers, friends, everyone saying, "Oh, Niall's going to go to the Olympics," and I think that's it's not a very nice environment for a young child to live in. It's like the focus is already about that end goal, and I'm 7 years old. It's like the odds of actually making the Olympic team are slim to none. You know, there's only 5 men and 5 women that go every 4 years, and usually 3 or 4 of the men and women that went to London went to Rio. So I'm only really fighting for one or 2 spots. But yeah, it's a lot of training, a lot of, again, the environment of gymnastics back in the early 2000s was different to what it was now, and it's been talked about with the culture, but it was tough. You know, at 12 years old to be training this amount that was physical, there was lots of pains. I think the human body's not necessarily designed to do gymnastics. You know, the positions that that we put in, so that comes with its challenges, I guess, and you have to become very resilient and tough, which I love that environment I grew up in, because how strong it made me as a person. And yeah, then sort of broke my way onto the scene when I was 18 and did the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, and won 4 medals, which was a shock to myself as much as to the rest of the world. And I think that was a seamless transition into the senior team. It's unusual that an 18-year-old sort of does that. So I was very lucky, but it was down to like my preparation and my hard work, and then that being able to deal with being in front of 20,000, 30,000 people and like love it. I absolutely loved it, you know, like I thrive off the energy, I love seeing my family, I just feel it all, and it's like my mindset was, I'm going to smash this and I'm going to show off. Yeah. I'm going to perform. Like my dad always says, he told me and my sister Joanna when we were kids to show off. You know, it's that old generation was like, stop showing off. Yeah. And then, but whereas my parents, I have an incredible family, incredible team of people around me, filled me with self-esteem, made me believe I could do anything, believed in me even when I didn't myself, and I think that's what made that fiery competitor that wanted to step up. Yeah. But yeah, in the mix of I'm going over years in sentences, but it was a hell of a lot of work. When I finished school, I was training twice a day and up to 35 hours a week at sort of 14, 15, 16, 17. And yeah, and you sacrifice a lot, don't you? You don't go to parties, you try and eat well because it helps your performance. I didn't really drink alcohol up until the Olympic Games, and it was totally worth it.
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
I think my story is almost the complete opposite of Niall's. In really short, I was the only disabled child in my school. So I was, never bullied, never treated any differently. Had a great time at school, except for when it came to PE. PE for me was sitting on the side watching, it was sitting in the library reading a book, it was anything but joining in with sport. And I feel like I got taught from a very early age that people like me didn't do sport. And I just accepted that, which is really out of character for me. I don't really accept things easily, but I think when you don't see it, you don't look around and see people like you don't know anyone like you kind of just have to learn that there's things that I'll never be able to do, and that's fine. That kind of all changed when I went to secondary school. I had a really passionate PE teacher who just wouldn't accept that I had to sit on the side. The first year for me, we'd had to really fight to get me into mainstream school. So my mum was just like, look, just sit on the side for a year. Let's just keep them happy. And then, this Mrs. Daniel, my PE teacher, was just incredible. She was just like, right, that's it, your year's done. Let's see what we can do with you. She invited in the local wheelchair basketball team. And that was the first time. I was 12 years old. I'd never met another disabled person up until that point. Wow. I'd never seen disability sport, never heard of wheelchair basketball, none of it. And that day, she just changed my life in a day, completely. So they came in, they did a demo, I jumped in a sports chair, and I think I more loved the fact that I had an opportunity to prove people wrong. I think that's always what's driven me. If people tell me I can't do something, I will turn over any stone to find my way of doing it and to prove people wrong.
Love it.
And that's what sport was for me. It was a way to go, you always said I couldn't do this, and look what I can do. So kind of through the basketball team, obviously I went home after school that day and told my dad all about it. It was like, oh, just I can't believe this is what I got to do. So my dad did some research, found the coach. We went to his house and met him, and my dad was like, what does she need to do to like train? And he was just like, just bring her on a Sunday. Like, that's it, you're on the team.
Yeah.
And that's how simple disability sport is. Once you're there, once you've opened that first door, you're just opened up to this incredible world where you can do anything. And it was never ever, I want to be a Paralympian, I want to be a Paralympic champion. I still had no idea that this side of it existed.
Right. So it was for fun.
It was just purely, I loved it.
You loved it.
I loved getting in the race chair. It gave me this feeling of, I still remember the first time I sat in the race chair. I really didn't want to get in it. And my dad was like, we've driven 100 miles. Get in the chair. As any Yorkshire dad would, right? So I didn't really get a choice.
Race.
But honestly, it was just the first time that I'd ever felt freedom and independence. You know, I was 15 and I was still having to hold my dad's hand when I wanted to walk, or having to ask for help because my wheelchair didn't fit very well, or, you know, even when I was playing sport, in basketball you have to pass the ball, you have to rely on a team. When I got in the race chair for the first time, you know, the coach was like, it's all about you. You go quick, you work hard. This is your opportunity. And I think I just loved the fact that I could do something for myself for the first time. Like, I did my education, but alongside it, I was just having fun. And I think, yeah, that all changed. I got invited. So every athletics team is made up of a quarter of male athletes and a quarter of female athletes. And in 2011, we didn't have enough female athletes to send. So the head coach just rang me and was like, do you want to go to New Zealand for a month? And I was like, yeah, all right, no probs. So off I went, and I became double world champion for the first time.
Wow.
And
So you weren't even going to go? And then you became world champion?
like they weren't even looking at me. Like, they weren't even, I wasn't on the team, I wasn't
So good.
being considered for anything. It was literally
But you was
like,
the best in the world at it.
yeah, apparently. Little did anyone know.
Yeah, accidentally.
Yeah, kind
So
of.
good.
But I was talking to Johnny Peacock about this. He's the leg amputee Paralympic champion, and we were saying, like, I think for those years, kind of 2011, 2012, it was just naivety that pulled us through. I think if we had the expectation on us that we have now in 2012, I wouldn't be half as successful as I was. But we literally, both of us got pulled into 2011. We were like, oh, world champs in New Zealand, cool. Oh, Paralympic Games at home, cool. And we literally just, everything that happened, we had no idea what we were saying yes to. We were just rolling with it, you know, seeing posters of yourself and things like that. You're just like, I was only 19, 20 years old. You're like, whoa, that's cool. Like, no pressure, no expectation, no one knew my name, no one cared in London 2012 if you came first, last or somewhere in between. They were going to cheer for you anyway. And for us to have 80,000 people in the stands, I don't know if you can tell, but I really like attention. So that was like dream come true territory.
So presumably it's got harder then as the weight of expectation.
Oh, it gets harder every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I think I have expectation on me now.
Yeah.
You know, I think in London, I didn't expect a gold, I didn't expect a medal. I was just buzzing to have a kit and be, honestly, like, Olympic or Paralympic Village is,
Cool, yeah.
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The race kind of wasn't the only thing I was thinking of, whereas now, Rio was scary, Tokyo was weirdly scary, but going into Paris, yeah, the pressure is immense because people are like, oh, well, this is what you do now. You win things. And I'm like, I certainly try, but that naivety is gone, you know, and I'm not saying for a second the enjoyment's gone. I still love what I do. I love it every day that I get to get in my chair. I feel lucky that that's my life, but there's a bit more tagged onto that now and no more naivety.
Did you know at Deloitte we support social enterprises through our 5 Million Futures programme? Like Change Please. They use 100% of the profits from their award-winning coffee to help people experiencing homelessness. They offer training, employment and ongoing support with housing, finances and therapy. Why not sign up to the Change Please Coffee Club to receive weekly deliveries of coffee beans? Or try out one of their blends? Just head to changeplease.org. Now, back to our topic of the day. Obviously, we've talked about, the highs, and you both sound like you love the attention, which is part of it all, but clearly these journeys haven't been easy for either of you. And Nile, you've spoken very openly about, the mental health challenges and some of the times when you've hit really low points. Tell us a bit more about kind of what happened and where you are now.
Yeah,
and that part
I think
of your journey.
first off, we're sort of glamorising our jobs in that where we describe our experiences, and they were unbelievable. But one of the very, very common things in sports is injuries. And I don't know your journey, Hannah, but I've had 4 surgeries, and one that sort of ended my career was my neck. I had neck surgery in 2019. And those processes really introduce yourself to yourself there, because it's what you love is just taken away from you, sort of out of your control. So I have to tell you all tomorrow, right, you're not allowed to do your job for 6 months. And actually, your job for the next 6 months is going to be boring, it's going to be monotonous, and you're going to be in physical and mental pain. So it's like, right. And that happens so much in sport, and I think that's those periods of times where I've really learned the most about myself, not winning any gold medals. And I honestly think I've been proud of myself for overcoming those setbacks. But yeah, the neck really flipped my world on its head, and I was this inspirational guy with all the answers. I also do a lot of content online, and I was making YouTube videos, and I was a champion at what the society deems as one on paper. And then all of a sudden I sort of broke my neck and had surgery, had to learn how to walk again, was in excruciating pain all the time, and then my behaviour would start to act up, and the way I dealt with that was by taking lots of painkillers and drinking lots of alcohol, which obviously wouldn't and doesn't help your mental well-being. And I found myself in this spot in life where it's like, what on earth is this? I've not experienced this before. I didn't really have any knowledge or self-awareness on mental health. And we talked earlier about, I really think professional athletes at some point in their lives and careers will have to have their own journey with mental health. I just think the intensity of our lifestyle and what we live, coupled with the intense euphoria of performing in front of 80,000 people and everyone validating you for being the best in the world and screaming your name, I don't necessarily think us as humans are able to process that sort of attention, information, and nothing feels like, and Hannah will agree with this, nothing feels like competing at the Olympics and succeeding, like winning a medal. Like I had zero expectations going in there as well. I was 20 years old and no one really expected me to win a medal, and I did. So the only way you get that feeling again is by doing it again, I guess, in 4 years. Yeah. But at 20, I didn't know that, and I thought I could chase the feeling with booze and partying and gambling, and realised I'm an extreme addictive personality, and I think addictive behavioural issues and mental health are very closely aligned. And I just found myself in a real tough spot, which, sat here now, I'm very grateful it all happened, because it's made me incredibly more self-aware and to know who I am. But yeah, it was a tough old journey, and then it's kind of continuing for me now, because that injury has led me into an early retirement. If it was up to me, I can feel Hannah's energy talking about the next steps. Like I would love to still be Nile the sportsman, but unfortunately I can't anymore, because my body won't allow me to do that. And I guess I'm on this journey now of trying to discover who I am without gymnastics or competitive gymnastics, and enjoy my life, not needing to seek these extreme highs, and also get lost in these extreme lows. So it's a tough old journey.
And through that experience, which you've shared so openly about, it's really interesting, thank you. What have you learned about kind of how you can kind of manage that waves of emotion and highs and lows?
I guess it's a broad question. It's difficult to answer for someone like an athlete, but I think if someone is struggling with their mental well-being, the first thing I'd tell someone to do is exercise, man. Like move your body. It's strange, because that was our jobs. So we have a very different relationship, and I've had to relearn my relationship with exercise and retiring. But moving your body is without the doubt the best thing you could do for yourself. You just feel better about yourself. You respect yourself a little bit more because you've done something you maybe didn't want to do. The dopamine and endorphins that exercise and movement gives you, and it can literally be going for a walk, like that's it.
Yeah.
So I'd start with that and maybe just try and make better decisions in your behaviour.
Yeah,
and
understanding your boundaries. And
yeah, for sure, like eating well, meditating, scribing, learning, listening to podcasts like this to actually fill your mind with something light instead of dark, do you know what I mean? And that's the first step.
You know what, I think I've been incredibly lucky in my career. I can't pick out massive lows.
Yeah.
I've not had any injuries, touch wood.
I'm going to touch it.
Touch wood.
We're all touching it.
Not had any injuries, but I am incredibly guilty for coming back from not just a Paralympic Games, a Worlds, Europeans, Commonwealths, whatever it is. And I never really reflect. I'm kind of just like, right, that's done, what's next? And I always just really quickly just move on to what's the next goal? What do I need to do? How can I get better? And I'm really guilty for not enjoying that moment. Kind of like, I just want to get back in training. I'm never satisfied with what I've done.
Yeah.
You know, I can break the world record, win the gold medal, whatever. I remember one single time in my whole career, it was last year at a race in Dubai. It wasn't like a championships or anything like that. It was an 800 metres and I pushed a 144. And that is the only time in my career where I've gone, whoa, I did that.
Yeah.
And since then, everything has just been like, nah, not good enough.
And how long did you allow yourself to enjoy that? Because
like the bus journey home.
right,
Like,
and then it was gone again.
Then I was like, but the thing is, you're just moving on so quick. I think, and probably you felt it as well, Niall. When you're doing multiple events in a series of days, you kind of train yourself to just move on. If I sat looking at this gold medal, then I'm not ready for the race the next day. So then when it's all over, I'm still programmed to just go, right, that's done, what's now?
Can I just say, having a man that's been retired for over 3 years now, try and be present and live in it and enjoy it more, because like one day it won't be there and you'll look back, and I certainly have, and gone, because I did exactly the same. You, like you say, you're wired to go, right, what's next?
I was just going to say, you guys are extreme examples of that, but that's probably a lesson that people can take away in all walks of life. Like we had a podcast with our youngest partner who made it partner at 30 years old, and it's like this amazing achievement, but actually there's a lot more to him than that, and that's really important, kind of thing.
Yeah, so much of what you've been talking about, I've been thinking about, you know, our listeners who are not necessarily gold medal winning athletes, but a lot of successful people in business. And whether you've been talking about the mental health aspects or about the dedication or about enjoying the ride and the hardship and the highs and the lows, so much of that, it can be applied to what we do in business as well. And I'm hoping that people listening are taking that as well, because this is so applicable to so many different walks of life.
And we're speaking about champions, and I think it was really interesting when you were talking, Hannah, and you as well now, just about the people in your life who have kind of championed you to help you get to where you are. And you spoke about your PE teacher and your family and all these people. How important do you think it is to kind of inspire others?
I think, it's part of the job, isn't it? But it's so important. You know, I couldn't do what I do without the team of people behind me, but in terms of inspiring others, I think ultimately that's the most important thing of what I do, because I hate it that I was that little girl that was told to sit on the side and that she couldn't do sport. And I hate that we are nearly 20 years on from that, and I still go into schools and there are still children sat on the side being told they can't do sport because they have a disability. I hate that with a passion. If I can change one person's mind, and I don't mean that they can be a Paralympic champion, I don't mean that they have to do anything with it, I just mean that they can go out and just find a sport that they enjoy, you know, just go and kick a ball or whatever it is, then that would make me feel successful. If I could just, because sport changes lives.
Yeah.
And so easily I could not have had that opportunity. So the more people that I can reach and the more minds that I can change, that, you know what, sport is for everyone. You don't have to want to be the best in the world. You don't have to love every single sport, but there is a sport for everybody. The more people that hear that, that would make me feel more successful, knowing that kids get the chance to try something new because of what I do. That's better than any gold medal.
That's
Agreed.
wonderful.
I mean, it's my purpose in life, inspiring others and making people smile. You know, I'm a content creator now, and I have been during my period of sport and towards the back end, and it was quite nice to be able to tell that story, but my main gig is making videos and putting them on the internet, And the absolute thread of all that is just to inspire people to move. And, you know, and I've made a documentary around mental health, like getting a message. There was thousands on there, but even just from one person, literally reading it brought me to tears sometimes. Like that, from watching that piece of content that I've created, that saved their life, or potentially saved their life. It's just like, I get rid of all my medals tomorrow. Like I want to do that. Do you know what I mean? It's the best feeling in the world. It's kind of helping people is the most selfish thing you could do, and that sounds backwards, but it makes me feel good.
Sure.
And I want to do that without need of anything in return. Do you know, if I can distract people for 10 minutes a day and they look at my stuff online and laugh and want to get off the sofa and try gymnastics or go for a walk or do dance again because they loved it when they were a kid. It's like you can do all of that, and sport and moving your body is my favourite thing in the world, and it does change lives.
100%.
It's utterly inspiring. And not only that, but you've inspired, I'm sure, a generation of ice skaters.
Yeah. I was good
Just
at that
dropping
as well.
it in there. Champion
Do you know what? That
dancing on ice.
that process for me, so I won Dancing on Ice 2023. And
I mean, there's no need to show off now.
that
Amazing.
process for me was so powerful because at the time I actually turned up an hour late for my audition, so I don't know how I even got the gig. At the period of time I was in a bit of a rough spot and drinking too much and a bit lost in life, and I actually thought that when we're talking about this euphoria and needing to win again, and like I thought I needed that, so this opportunity came about for me to sort of scratch that itch, because you know I was going to learn how to ice skate right on my street. I love learning sports, and I did get pretty good at it. Gymnastics helped with that for sure, but I thought that I needed to scratch that itch of feeling like a champion and getting the euphoria and the accolade of winning, and I'm so glad I did it because it made me realise that I didn't. You know, like, don't get me wrong, it was unbelievable to lift the trophy and it was fun to perform every weekend again, but what I realised very quickly after that is that I didn't bask in that euphoric moment, and like my ego didn't come out and go, yeah, I'm a winner. It was like I realised what made me a winner at the time was at the after party, and I just had my family and friends there, my girlfriend at the time and my parents, and that was what made me a winner. And then I'm so glad I did that process to just realise that I didn't need, you know, what I thought I did, which was to be a champion.
To have the affirmation.
Yeah, to have the validation and the affirmation again. So that really helped me in retirement for sure.
Talking about inspiring others, you both feature in Mindscape, a digital experience Deloitte have worked on with Team GB and Paralympics GB, where the player can digitally go inside the mind of an athlete. Could you just talk a little bit about what's kind of hoped to achieve through that game and then the experience of working on that? Yeah,
it was a brilliant experience to be a part of, like in this day and age, this immersive, different reality that you can immerse yourself in is super, super cool. But if you're listening to this, you're already wanting to better yourself, and I think I would definitely encourage people to give that a go and give that game a go. It's all about trying to develop the mindset of a champion. It's going to help so many people, and we got to have we did our little talk, which will be within the game, which is another cool moment, I guess, for me and Hannah.
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, it's something totally different. You know, it's something that no one else has really done before, so a little bit daunted, I think, when we were in there recording it. But for me, the opportunity to just share my story with as many people who will listen, and the magic of it being in kind of like a digital universe is that it doesn't have to be people in a school or even in the UK. It can be worldwide. I can reach so many more people, and hopefully just encourage them. You know, show them this is who I am. This is what I did, and this is where I got to, and hopefully I think through my story, and I think we both spent quite a lot of time trying to get it perfect and really get the message across that anything's possible. You know, you've got to work hard, and I want people to listen to it and really believe that they too can be champions or whatever they want to be. And for me, the chance to reach that many more people is exciting, but also incredibly scary. So, you know, if you listen to it, please be nice.
Sure, it'd be fantastic.
Perfect, thank you. It's probably time to wrap up.
I think it is.
And we always wrap up with just asking our big question of the day. So in one or two sentences, can you please summarise what makes a champion?
You go first.
We
Two
always
sentences.
discuss so much.
I know.
Ultimately, in sport, I still believe a champion is the person who crosses that finish line first. That's what we're training for. But in life, a champion is someone who gives 100% of themselves to whatever it is that they want to achieve. And as long as you're proud of what you've done, you're a champion.
Love it.
Nice.
A true champion is not about medals and trophies and money. It comes from within. How you make an impact on the people around you and how you feel about yourself, particularly pride. And I'm very proud of myself. That makes me a champion.
It's fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Really inspiring.
Thanks for having us. It's been a great
Thank you.
chat.
Thanks
Brilliant.
so much. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Green Room by Deloitte. We release a new episode every other Tuesday with another big question. So don't forget to hit follow or subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening or watching. That way you'll be alerted whenever a new episode drops. This podcast is produced by our very own Pod Squad and hosted by Lizzie Elston, Ethan Worth and Annie Wong. Original music by Ali Barrett.